front side. The part that we isolated in those drills is being in here, right? Talk about it a lot with people's stride. I was talking before that people try and get kids, right on line towards their target, and that's great if they are. If it happens to be where they kind of stride across their body a little bit, that's not the biggest deal. If it's getting to a point where they're over here and they're cutting themselves off and they can't really get there, but if it's minor and they're cutting their, they're getting in here and they're cutting themselves off a little bit, that's all right. Honestly, that's how I threw, and if you see it from a hitter's angle, you're going to really hide the baseball. People aren't going to really be able to pick it up until that last second when it's in here. If kids are vanilla and they're in here, the kid, this fall come in, he pretty much lifted right here, and he was just like, it's screaming, just hitting me. You're seeing it, but I wouldn't tinker with the kid's stride unless it's drastic. So if a kid's stepping over here, he's trying to throw over there, then we have some issues. Or vice versa, if their front side's kind of flying open, they're getting in here, they're just kind of throwing with their top half, and then we have a problem. We want to be able to sync up our lower half with our top half when we're throwing. So their stride needs to be somewhat towards the plate. If we're getting, stepping in the bucket as they call it, or cutting themselves off, we just want to make sure that we're in those lines. So if you want to work on lines, that's perfect. That gets them just kind of a general direction of going towards the plate. So that's one thing I wouldn't tinker with, kind of like their arm angle. Those are some things you don't tinker with unless it's something drastic. The big thing with, we talk about our release points being out in front, and a lot of people say we got to get out in front and bend our back, and it's a lot of things with little kids. It's how do you get them to be out in front? A big thing for us is talking about when they get their hand break. So we have a drill that we do every day where they spread out. It's supposed to simulate spreading out to where their stride would be if they're pitching. So if I'm here, my stride's here, we have them pause, kind of shorten up a little bit, and we're working on getting the handbrake over our backside. Reason why we do this, so the drill, I'll show you the drill real quick, where you get to our backside, and we're getting the handbrake back here. What does this do? This allows us to get this out and up. Front. If you look at a pitcher's motion, right? So if I'm here, this is a good one. So if you're here and you get your handbrake on your back leg, on your backside, over the rubber, that's going to give your arm more of a chance to get out and up than it's being out in front. It's just like anything. If it happens late, it's going to be behind. We're going to have to do things to cheat to get it through. So if a kid's, as he's lifting, he's going out, that hand's still in that glove and it's not breaking, just think about how much distance he has to make up here, right? So he's here, and what most kids are going to do is fly over and bring their arm through here, just kind of cheat their way to throwing a strike. So what we do is we have a balance drill every day. Well, the first drill is a spread out. So they spread out and they're working on just getting their hand going back here, right? So they're getting back, strong front side, everything. Feeling it here. What we do is we have them keep their back leg down, probably the first 4 throws, and then the next 4 we have them kicking through. The focus of the drill being getting the handbrake back here. Exaggerate that. Have them exaggerate that. Don't just, I have some guys that kind of just, they bounce through it and not really getting anything out of it. So make sure that they're getting back, feeling that handbrake over their back leg, which is going to allow them to be out in front. So the first couple, you just get back, and you're just kind of spinning that leg over. Once you do 4 or 5 of those, they can get back here, and then they're working their back leg through like a pitcher would, right? Going into after that, we'll do, call it the balance drill. What we do at Wheaton, we have some guys who, I'll talk about a leg lift. Their kid's back, and you've seen some pitchers, I'm sure everyone's watched baseball. Some pitchers have that traditional up and down lift, right? Or some pitchers get into that, a little bit of that coil. Both are fine. Both are fine. Don't make one kid do the other. We have guys that do both at Wheaton. And this drill we've tailored over the years because guys have different motions. If a kid who's lifting straight up and down, we call it the balance drill, where they'll come up, boom, they'll work on that hand separation back here over the rubber, come back up, same thing. We have a kid from New Jersey, he gets into here, he gets all coiled up. And if I were to tell him to do that, he can't really do it with the way he throws. So we don't want to make them do something they don't do in a game just to make a drill work, right? So we kind of try and tailor it for them. What I think works for everyone, whether they lift up or they kind of coil a little bit, is just pausing when their knee hits their highest point, right? So they come here, when their knee hits their highest point, they pause, right? What is this? What's the purpose of this drill? The purpose of the drill is to keep, control their back leg, be balanced, be controlled, but also give ourselves a chance to be out in front. If as we're lifting, we are kind of drifting out, we're not going to have time for arm to get out and out and be out in front. So the purpose of the drill is to work on staying back. If you can get kids who get advanced and they get go, you're going to have kids who they're like, first thing they're doing that. It's okay, reset, do it. I tell guys, freshmen every year, it's okay. Go home, go to your dorm room and do it 100 times. Come back tomorrow with some good balance. So the drill, come back. For the youth ages, I would just have them pause at the top of their motion. So they get here, pause at the top of their motion, make sure they're not leaning out of control, make sure they come up, pause here for 1, 2, 3 seconds, and then we're just making a pitch to the plate. Just really working on being in control of their body, being on their backside, and then most importantly, the drill is kind of useless unless they're getting separation back here. So if guys are just doing this, they have good balance, but then it's this, and then we're getting our arm out, and then it's a problem. So for the drill, just make sure they're boom, once they get here and get their good balance, that this is kind of, what I tell guys is your knee and your arm are working together. It's like a lever, they work together, right? If they don't work together, if this happens, and then it's behind, you're not going to be out in front, that pitch is going to kind of sail on you. Really the biggest feedback in terms of being out in front and being on time with everything is where the pitch goes, right? So if the pitch is going up and wide or they're yanking it into the ground, it usually means that their arm's behind their body, it's lagging a little bit and they're getting out too much with their body. So for the drill, just make sure that they're, boom, like I said, getting here. These two drills really, they're working on the same thing, just two different drills, right? So it's here, getting it out on their backside. For this one, it's here, getting it out on their backside. Right? So that's allows them out front. So those two drills they can do every day before they throw. So start them out where they're spread out, get in here, just turn that back leg over, and then get into the balance drill where they're coming up. They can do that. If they get advanced and they get good at the balance part of being here, they can then work on this separation part where they can do this, come back together, and then do it live, right? But for kids who are kind of starting off, going early, just new to pitching, just get them here, freeze, and then just make a pitch, right? Try and dumb it down, keep it simple. Not too much information overload. It's like one thing always builds off the next, I think, in pitching. So once they get one thing down, you can kind of expand off of it and do something else. Like I said, encourage them to practice all this stuff at home. The more reps they do, the better they get. Any questions in terms of anything pitching-wise? One thing I did want to talk about is the way they address the rubber and the way they step into their windup. Old school pitchers used to do this whole thing, but kind of what I talked about was being in control of their leg. If you watch a guy who's like this, just think about just their general weight distribution. Not everyone's one Marichal can make that all work, right? If they can, then let them do it. But most kids that we'll be dealing with, and that I'm dealing with, aren't that athletic to sync that up consistently, right? We want to be consistently throwing strikes. It's the name of the game. So I think the biggest thing when addressing the rubber is just small, simple steps to get us aligned, right? So it's right here, boom, we're getting aligned, we're in control. If your kid's getting too much east, west, just to get back to the center of gravity, they're working all this way. And then eventually we want to work that way, right? So it's just really just working against ourselves if the kids are doing that. In terms of stepping back, some guys can make it work, but I think in general, just the general, the mass, I have a big kid who's 240 pounds, it's like he lifts back, and once it's lifted, he's gone. There's no way he can stop himself. I mean, I tell his name's Ferd, I just say, they call him Hoagie. He cuts sandwiches, and he's just a big dude. These are one of our best pitchers. I'm just like, I said, Hoagie, if you start lifting that big leg, it's tough to make it stop and go the other way. So we got to be, he used to come in, he came in like this, and then you would throw, I'm like, hey, you got to simple it all down. So now, boom, in control, and he's working towards his target. That's the biggest thing. So that's all I got for you in terms of drills. I think if you do those basic drills before they throw every day, you'll see just natural progression and stuff like that. In terms of fixing them, those three things. It's like this thing, where their elbow is, making sure we're in a good slot. Doesn't matter if they're in here, making sure that when they're separating, their fingers are on top. We're not getting out like this, going out like this, making sure our fingers are on top. And then in terms of stride, just make sure that they're working towards it. We're not stepping in the bucket and we're not cutting ourselves off. But if it's not perfectly on a line, that's all right. Any questions?